For the second time this weekend, we're about to go racing on the streets of London. This is the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, round 14, the 2022 London E-Prix. We had an excellent race yesterday, which was won by Jake Dennis in front of his home fans and at this unique venue at London's Excel, where we race indoors and then outdoors as well. We are set for another 45 minutes plus one lap of racing action. This is how the grid will line up. At the back, Alexander Sims for Mahindra Racing. Andre Lotterer struggling in qualifying as well. Sergio Sette Camera, after his heroics yesterday, lines up 19th for this race. Robin Freins is 18th. Eduardo Mortara, third in the championship, is 17th on the grid. And the second and fourth place drivers in the championship are a long way down as well. Mitch Evans, 14th. Championship leader Stoffel Vandoorne is only 13th. Oliver Askew is in 11th place, just outside the top 10. And indoors here at the XL, we have the starting grid in darkness. There is Askew on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side is Oliver Rowland, the Mahindra driver, lining up in 10th position, just behind Jean-Eric Verne. He's fourth in the standings, 45 points adrift of Stoffel Vandoorne. A big result here today would do him the world of good if he's to keep in the championship fight. Max Gunther is 8th for the Nissan Edams team after he finished 8th yesterday. Then it is the envision of Nick Cassidy, who made a mistake in the quarterfinals in the qualifying duels, so he's only 7th. He came through the field to finish 3rd yesterday. Sebastian Buemi in the other Nissan is in 6th position, both Nissans qualifying inside the top 10. And then it is Nick de Vries, the reigning champion, won't win the title this year, but 5th on the grid. He has a chance to finish better than he did yesterday. Antonio Felix da Costa is 4th for DS Techeetah, 3rd on the grid. A remarkable performance, comfortably his best qualifying session of the season. Antonio Giovinazzi in the Dragon Penske Autosport car. 2nd on the grid is Lucas di Grassi, the Season 3 champion. Hasn't won a race yet so far this season, and he is lining up in 2nd place. But on pole, Dennis doubled up and took another pole in London. The crowd cheering for him as we get ready to light up the XL and get going with round 14 of the championship. After this, we do 2 races in South Korea in 2 weeks' time, and that will decide the Formula E World Champion. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is Dario Franchitti, the IndyCar legend. A big opportunity here for Jake Dennis, but the team's saying they don't think it's going to be as easy as yesterday, because the black Venturi on the right-hand side, Lucas di Grassi, is out for glory.
And he's a combative driver. We know that, past champion and wants to win. There's a few drivers, as we've said, out of position. Antonio Giovinazzi. Strategy is going to be so important today. Attack mode activation zone, which we'll talk about later on, 3 times 4 minutes. That is going to be strategically critical to winning this race today.
That's Roger Griffiths at Avalanche Andretti. Lucas di Grassi's team bosses, Jerome D'Ambrosio. The white and red car in 3rd place is Antonio Giovinazzi. 4th is this man, Antonio Felix da Costa. The 2 Antonios on row 2. 3 races to go in Formula E. The championship protagonists are a long way back in the order. We'll keep an eye on Stoffel Vandoorne's progress. He's the championship leader. But it's Jake Dennis on pole position. Lucas di Grassi alongside him. The charge down to turn 1 about to begin. It's a left-hander. All 5 lights are on. And we go green in London. It's a pretty decent getaway from Jake Dennis. And he covers the inside and holds the lead. Da Costa's up the inside of Giovinazzi coming into the first corner. Big lock-up. Did they all make it through? Yes. Di Grassi holds on to 2nd position. De Vries trying to force his way through. Buemi and Cassidy are side by side as they make their way outdoors now into the sunshine, and Dennis holds the lead. Di Grassi 2nd, Giovinazzi 3rd, Da Costa 4th, De Vries is 5th. Up in the air goes Sims and wipes out. Was that Verne? I think it was Rowland, sorry, going up in the air. Has he wiped out Jean-Eric Verne? No, Verne is still going. They're all still going. Askew goes up the inside into turn 9 and keeps the place. Surely Rowland has damage, and I think he has. He's pulling over to the side of the circuit. His suspension is broken. Wehrlein here is battling with Mitch Evans as they come down into Custom House, but Rowland out of the race on the opening lap.
Yeah, he got squeezed into the wall. He went to try and go down the outside of 5 to the inside of turn 6, and it looks like Oliver Askew and him came together. The gap closed, and we saw the car becoming airborne for a second. One of the Jaguars down the inside, Mitch Evans, making moves already.
And then Vandoorne hits the back of the Porsche of Wehrlein, so that was a bit messy, but Evans manages to get up into 11th place then. Wehrlein down to 12th, and then he was hit by Vandoorne. Askew completes the top 10. But here comes Dennis across the line at the end of lap 1. De Grassi is in 2nd position. 3rd is Giovinazzi. 4th is Da Costa. 5th is De Vries.
So Dennis already going down the straight, checking his mirrors, and we see one of the Mercedes big defensive move from Stoffel van Dorn from the Porsche of Wehrlein.
Yeah, so Van Dorn's got ahead of Wehrlein then at some point in the closing stages of the lap, and a bit of hip and shoulder to try and get him out of the way. The stewards were very hot on driving standards yesterday. You can't be moving too much under the braking zones because then you will be getting a penalty. So that's something they need to keep an eye out on. 43 minutes plus 1 lap to go.
It's more of a just a, what's the word, a subtle reminder that he wasn't going to make life easy. We see Oliver Rowland in his home race yet again not finishing it. Same thing that happened yesterday.
Yeah, Rowland out. Dennis leading though. De Grassi 2nd. No position changes in the top 9 so far. Askew's made up a place. Evans has made up 3. Bit of a front right lockup for Antonio Giovinazzi as they come around the anchor corner at turn 16 and then head back indoors.
See Evans in 11th. And we see Stoffel van Dorn in 12th. Any place he can gap Stoffel van Dorn helps him in that ongoing championship fight.
At the moment, it's only Jean-Eric Verne in 9th position that would score any points in the championship. Van Dorn now climbing up the hill. That sounded like a big crunch coming through the chicane at turn 20.
And there's a double yellow.
There is a yellow flag out there at the chicane. We'll keep an eye on what happened. Attack mode activation zone is open, and it's Ticktum. So Ticktum's run into trouble somewhere, and I think that is him at turn 20. 42 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Dennis is leading. You can see how close De Grassi is behind him up in the top left.
They jumped the curve in turn 19, but unfortunately, if you get it wrong, you tend to hit the barrier in turn 20, and that's potentially what's happened to Dan Ticktum.
Yeah, we heard a big load of crunching, didn't we? And Verne is dropping down the order as well. So what's happened to Jean-Eric Verne? Maybe it was Verne that got involved in the trouble. He stopped. Jean-Eric Verne has pulled to the side of the road and is out. And that surely is his championship over. That's at turn 7. Verne is out of the race.
And that might necessitate a full Porsche yellow or a safety car.
Yeah, potentially. 41.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Dennis leading, De Grassi 2nd, Giovinazzi 3rd, and Jean-Eric Verne, after scoring points in every one of the first 12 races of the season, has not scored points and safety car deployed. Safety car deployed. So first 10 races of the season, Verne scored points. He's now not scored in the last 4. But the safety car deployed then. And that will be for Verne's car. There is the Porsche Taycan coming through the first couple of corners.
If you're Dennis, I would say you don't want to get too far ahead with De Grassi, because if you get too much of a gap between De Grassi in 2nd and Giovinazzi in 3rd, it would allow De Grassi to take attack mode, and Jean-Eric Verne is actually going again, but it would allow De Grassi to take attack mode without losing a place to Giovinazzi and then attack Dennis. So Dennis is probably going to not going to stretch the advantage too much for the rest of the field, keep the field bunched up until he wants to take attack mode.
Is pit lane entry closed? Is that why Verne has come to a halt there?
Something's broken.
The lights
are off again. I think the car's broken again. Replay of the start. This surface is so high grip. This is the fastest 0 to 60 acceleration the cars are going to get all year. So Ticktum on the inside of the Jaguars, pushes one Jaguar into the other. Sam Bird very careful today, ended up in the wall there yesterday. You see Askew, it looked like he didn't realise the car was there.
Yeah, and suddenly Rowland hit Verne, so maybe that contributed to Verne's damage. Still don't know what happened to Dan Ticktum. He is out. Verne is now in the pits, I believe. He's made it into the pit lane. Ticktum is not running, so he has retired from the race somewhere on the circuit. We've got less than 40 minutes plus a lap to go. Safety car deployed. And here we go. Dan Ticktum. Oh, he's slowed down here, so I think he's definitely hit the wall at that chicane. That's what we heard.
So he's hit the curb on the left too hard. It's bounced him over into the wall on the right as the bottom of the car's made contact with the curb. And we see Jean-Eric Verne back in the garage too. So I've been waiting for somebody to do that in turn 19 all weekend, because they're cutting the corner so much.
So Verne climbing out of the car and climbing out of the race and climbing out of the championship fight. 39 minutes plus a lap to go, and he knows it. Shake of the head. And he was the driver who had qualified the highest.
Yeah, double champion, double previous champion. Yeah, it's not going to be this year. Jean-Marc Fignon, his boss at DS Automobiles.
what's Cassidy doing here? Nick Cassidy's pulled over to the left-hand side as they come down the start-finish straight.
He's got a problem. Look at the car bouncing. Is that just on the...
Looks a bit weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, unless he was letting some people through.
I don't know.
Why is the question?
So, Cassidy then is in 7th position at the moment. And Cassidy's complaining on the radio that Gunther overtook him behind the safety car. Here's a look at Stoffel van Dorn into the... Oh, this is the hairpin move where Evans went to the inside of Verline. Verline tried to get the cutback, but Van Dorn was sort of already there, really. And
Quite a late move from Stoffel.
Yeah. Well, he was just taking the apex, wasn't he? But, yeah, Verline was trying to do that cutback.
I was going to say, he's got to expect the car in front to come in and close the door.
Great attendance here this weekend from the British fans. First time that they've been able to come and watch Formula E racing since 2017. Ian James, the team principal at Mercedes EQ. Roger Griffiths, the boss at Andretti. Jerome D'Ambrosio and Delphine Biscay at Venturi. And the safety car will be coming in this lap. So they've the marshals have managed to clear the debris. Huge thanks to the British marshals who a year ago lost Rob Foote. So a lot of them are wearing black armbands to commemorate him this weekend.
We have the best marshals in the world.
Yeah.
And they could not do any racing around the world without the marshals. So big thank you.
But now the safety car comes in and Jake Dennis goes. Nice and early. He's got a very, very good restart there, Jake Dennis. Look at him. Disappearing. Scott Elkins calls for the green flag. And 37 minutes plus a lap to go. The race gets back underway with Dennis in first, De Grassi second, Giovinazzi third, Da Costa fourth, De Vries in fifth on the run down towards the first corner.
You see Jake Dennis try to straddle the debris there. He wants to hit it in the middle of the car, not with the tyre, because if he hits it with the tyre on his carbon fibre, potentially causes a puncture. The time will be added to the race. It's a time race, 45 minutes plus a lap, but time will be added for the time behind the safety car.
Oh, big slide from Giovinazzi as he comes down out of turn 5 into the Sunborn complex. Now to the right-hander at Sandstone at turn 9. Do the right-hander and then out onto the Flying Angel straight, down towards Custom House. Dennis holding the lead. De Grassi second, Giovinazzi third.
De Grassi in the black Venturi is not going to let Jake Dennis get away, though. He's going to keep hounding him, keep putting pressure on him and hoping that he can distract him and Jake Dennis make a mistake. And that would be the first mistake that Jake Dennis has made this weekend. Oh, and I tell you what, De Grassi had a lot more speed into the braking zone of turn 16.
Attack mode activated for Nick De Vries. So he is the first driver to activate his attack mode. 4 minutes. Now De Vries will be in a 13% extra power mode, and it's 3 times this race. So it's 3 lots of 4 minutes that you have to activate attack mode. So De Vries getting on with it, and that will create a bit of a gap for Da Costa to take it on the next lap, I would have thought. Fastest lap of the race for Antonio Felix Da Costa. That's the top 4 coming down into turns 1 and 2 at Victoria and Albert, and De Vries makes a move on Buemi then. So he's already back up into 5th place, Nick De Vries.
And that was big, because otherwise he's going to wait all the way down to the exit of turn 9 to make a pass, but he can now use those extra yards on the circuit to pull the gap in front of him, with Sebastian Buemi behind him, and close the gap to Antonio Felix Da Costa ahead in the black and gold Conchita.
Dennis leading. De Grassi right with him, and look, that De Vries has closed the gap, as you mentioned.
I think De Grassi looks really strong in the braking zone into turn 16, the hairpin. So watch for him if he can get out of turn 13 well. Watch for him making a move on the brakes this lap into 16.
Here they come. Giovinazzi's already got 2% less energy than Jake Dennis. We were talking about it before the race as Buemi activates his attack mode. Askew getting his elbows out and putting Gunther in the wall a little bit. And Gunther loses a few places as a result. So Askew up into 8th position with a forceful manoeuvre.
Aggressive stuff from Oliver Askew.
Evans has got up into 8th place as well in all of that. So I think Evans got through and ahead of them. So that's really good news for Mitch Evans in the Jaguar. Da Costa to the inside of Giovinazzi. Bold one at turn 1. Giovinazzi hangs on. Wheel to wheel. And De Vries takes advantage. Da Costa loses out. Giovinazzi was not giving that place up without a fight.
We've seen both Evans now and De Vries do exactly what they have to do. With they've taken advantage of other people's arguments on circuit and making places up.
Giovinazzi is under investigation for overuse of power, and or overpower, i.e. too much power. rather than the 220 kilowatts that you're allowed. Now, he's had that a couple of times in practice. He's been done for that.
And that can happen when the car goes airborne, the wheels lose contact with the ground and overspeeds and just pops in a little bit too much power. Watch for De Vries talking about too much power, looking to make a move. Giovinazzi goes defensive. You see Antonio Felix da Costa taking the attack mode activations on. He stays ahead of the Nissan just, and that could be key to his strategy.
Very, very close racing as they return from the attack zone. 33 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Dennis leading, De Grassi second, Giovinazzi third as they come out onto the start-finish straight again. It was a broken radiator on the right-hand side of Verne's car. That is why he's out. De Vries in attack mode gets ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi into third place, and De Vries is making really strong progress here. And he's close to, you can see attack modes remaining. 3 for Dennis, 3 for De Grassi, 2 for De Vries. This is what happened with Da Costa. Went for the move, and to be fair, Giovinazzi did a great job of just hanging it on around the outside.
Yeah, and Giovinazzi at that point can't get enough lock into the car to make it round 2. Nothing. Da Costa just couldn't get enough of an overlap. And then Da Costa, look, Giovinazzi's put the lock in. I mean, that is just a racing incident. Good, hard racing from both those drivers. Yeah,
good stuff indeed. Gunter's dropping down the order, so Gunter's in a bit of trouble in the Nissan. Evans is up into 7th place. Van Dorn is in 8th position, so those two making good progress. Askew is 9th, Verline is 10th. They're not in attack mode just yet, but De Vries, here comes De Grassi through the hairpin, and De Grassi activates attack mode. De Vries is now up into 2nd place. Giovinazzi goes for it as well. Yellow flag at turn 9, so that's at Sandstone, coming out onto the back straight. De Vries is up into 2nd position, but he's now out of his first attack mode, so everybody else has got a later attack mode. Here comes Dennis. He's got quite a big advantage now over De Vries, who's going to be under pressure from De Grassi. Fight for 2nd place. Coming down towards turn 1. To the inside, De Grassi goes through, comes across and squeezes De Vries in the end. Oliver Askew has just driven through the pits because he was given a drive-through penalty for collision with Oliver Rowland, which I presume is the opening lap, which...
Yeah, has to be.
Yeah, because Rowland didn't do anything else. So that's Askew's race fairly ruined.
Max Gunter into the pits as well. I think he got some damage potential from that, the second of the Askew incidents. You can see now, let's see if Lucas De Grassi can close this gap to race leader Jake Dennis. And I'm Jake Dennis, I'm taking attack mode this lap. And we saw a lot of people, actually we didn't see it yesterday, but a lot of people missed the attack mode loops yesterday.
Right.
And there was multiple instances of that. So we've got to make sure, you've got to be absolutely accurate on those attack mode loops. There's 3 of them across the track that you must cross with the centre of the car. There he goes, Jake Dennis. Oh, to attack. Oh.
De Grassi gets excited, tries to go late in the day, can't get it done. De Vries is now into his 2nd attack mode and has come out in front of Antonio Giovinazzi. Evans activated his as well, as did Stoffel Van Dorn in 7th and 8th. So it's De Vries who's got 1 to go at the end of this. Da Costa up into 3rd. And it's a drive-through penalty for Antonio Giovinazzi for overpower. So just when you think, again, Dragon might score some points, they don't.
I mean, they just can't get a break. That poor team, all the people working so hard.
Yeah.
They're in position to score good points yesterday. Didn't happen. Good points today. Get a penalty.
Now, a lot has gone on in these opening 15 minutes. What happened to Cassidy? Did we see? Can we remember?
Didn't see.
No, because he was running in the top 10, wasn't he? Well, he qualified.
He had a problem. Remember, he pulled over on the yellow, saying that Gunter had passed him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Cassidy's dropped down to 18th place, but it's Jake Dennis leading. De Grassi is in 2nd place. 3rd is Antonio Felix da Costa. 4th is Nick De Vries. Then it's a gap back to Giovinazzi, who's got a drive-through penalty. Buemi, Evans and Van Dorn, who, if they clear Buemi, could have a shot with a bit of a safety car at getting back to the lead group. But those are the top 2, Dennis and De Grassi.
So Mitch Evans, he's got attack mode still, got 2 minutes 40 seconds left. He's got to be attacking Sebastian Buemi ahead of him right now. See it on camera. He's got to be, as soon as he can, into turn 1, get that job done, get that pass made. Giovinazzi's coming in the pits for his drive-through. We've got a yellow flag again at turn 9.
It was a puncture for Cassidy. That's why he had to pit. Puncture for Cassidy. Giovinazzi comes into the pits for his drive-through penalty. Evans dispatches Buemi. So he's now up into 5th place here, Mitch Evans. Van Dorn will be trying to follow through. The frustrating thing for Evans is he's doing a great job, but Van Dorn's coming with him every step of the way.
If he can gap just one car, it gives him some breathing room in the points. But again, in every position he makes up closer to the front, the gaps between points, positions are bigger. So it's so important they keep this march on, and trust me, he knows this is his championship. Depends on it.
De Vries is going to be right with Da Costa here because he's in attack mode. The battle for third position, and we'll keep an eye on the tower on the left-hand side because they are right together. Here they come now, down towards the anchor. De Vries is still in attack mode. And there we go. Da Costa activates his second attack mode. So De Vries ahead of Da Costa, but Da Costa will have it for attack mode for longer than De Vries does. This is turning into the top four are the ones in the race for the win. Though having said that, De Vries and Da Costa are quite a way back for compared to everybody else. 28 minutes plus a lap to go. Dennis and Degrassi at the moment are in a bit of a race of their own, but it can all come back together before you knew it.
We talk a lot about Buemi blocking the Mercedes. Stoffel Van Dorn can't make it around outside. We talk a lot about energy normally. This is not an energy-hungry track. They've actually reduced the energy in the battery for this race specifically. It's pretty much a flat-out race, and drivers can actually spend a lot more energy defending or attacking the car in front and then save a little bit later on, but it's almost a flat-out race here in London.
Giovinazzi and Da Costa incident is under investigation for causing a collision. Seemed mostly racing-y.
Come on, yeah. I think that might be taking it a bit far.
27.5 minutes plus a lap to go. Damage on the front of Van Dorn's car as well, which I hadn't quite picked up on. The front left is a little bit wobbly. Beautiful sunshine here in East London as Van Dorn comes down into the top two now activate attack mode. So Dennis and Degrassi, no, did Dennis? No, Dennis is still in it, my apologies. So it was Degrassi activating his attack mode for the second time in this E-Prix. And De Vries is catching the back of him, but he's now out of attack mode. Da Costa is in attack mode, so this is going to be the fight for third position. Can Da Costa get De Vries this time, coming down towards turn one? He's got the extra power, the DS Digita. If it stays like this, Evans closes to 20 points off the back of Stoffel Van Dorn.
And De Vries still doing that sort of little last-minute move as he comes into braking zone. He got penalised for that yesterday, so he needs to be careful that Scott Elkins, the race director, brought it up in the drivers' meeting again, and they're watching for it. On board with Stoffel Van Dorn.
Running in 7th place, Stoffel Van Dorn, trying to get ahead of Sebastian Buemi's Nissan. De Vries really defending from Da Costa. As Dario said, De Vries got done yesterday for defending far too aggressively. Da Costa has got a good, blocking basically. Here we go with Da Costa. De Vries holds the middle of the road, and Da Costa, De Vries with the lockup, little bit of a kiss.
You saw the light move as there was a bit of a kiss. We have cameras in the nose of most of these cars, and the number is always in double figures, the amount of noses that get wrecked as the event goes on.
Da Costa's only got one more lap here, so it's going to be surely down the start-finish straight as we come into this left-hander.
He's continuously just giving him little taps in the back to let him know he's there. But look how De Vries gets off the corner well.
Here comes Da Costa though, and to the inside. Third place for Antonio Felix Da Costa. And Evans is closing in on them. The Jaguar on the last lap was half a second quicker than the two in front. Nigel Beresford and James Rossiter watching the race unfold. You can see Van Dorn on the left-hand side. He hasn't got past Buemi still, and he's losing time because of that. He's now 1.8 seconds or so off the back of, no, 2.5 seconds off the back of Mitch Evans there in the number 9 Jaguar, who we're riding with now, because Van Dorn can't get ahead of Buemi.
And the biggest problem Evans has got is the car ahead. Nick De Vries, his teammate, Stoffel Van Dorn, the man that Evans is fighting for the championship. So De Vries is going to make that Mercedes so wide when Evans gets to him. But Evans has got to push because, as we talked about, every place he takes attack mode now, every place Evans can separate himself from Van Dorn is going to be huge in this championship fight. You see Sam Bird, taking attack mode there.
Mortara's not taken any attack modes yet. There goes Alexander Sims through attack mode, but Mortara has not taken any of his attack modes, nor has Oliver Askew, so that's an interesting one. Across the line come the race leaders now. Degrassi has a minute more attack mode than Dennis does at the moment, or he's rather, Degrassi's in attack mode for another minute. Dennis is not, but Dennis has 2 to go.
this is the point of the circuit. The attack mode doesn't really matter because it just means you're going to spin the tyres up more. Jake Dennis is able to keep the momentum up through these corners because the handling balance of that Avalanche Andretti is so good. This is the bit now of the track, turn 9 onwards, that the extra power that attack mode gives you really pays dividends.
On board with Degrassi, he's got 30 seconds to try and hit the front if he wants to. But it might be, the thing is, if Degrassi goes up the inside into the anchor, Dennis might just take attack mode anyway. He might take attack mode anyway now. We'll see. Here they come, onto the brakes. Roger Griffith's watching. Does his driver take attack mode? No. And Degrassi doesn't make the move. Now, Da Costa does activate attack mode. So he now, that's his third. And he's in third position.
I noticed Jake Dennis going into turn 16, he lifted a bit, lifted and coasted a bit, saved some energy. So does that mean he's over-consumed what energy? I mean, it's very slight over-consumed to stay ahead of Lucas Degrassi. Degrassi's going to be putting the pressure on, though. He knows he's tactically such an astute driver.
Dennis and Degrassi out in front. There's the energy remaining. Da Costa's, well, they're all about the same, really, at the moment. Da Costa's probably got the least of anybody out there. Less than 23 minutes to go. Come down the hill, Dennis leading, Degrassi second, De Vries third, Da Costa fourth. Now he's activated his attack mode, and this is Mitch Evans, who's running in 5th place currently. But there are the race leaders, Dennis and Degrassi, and De Vries and Da Costa. Quadruple D out the front.
This is the sort of spot in the track, you can see the nerves in the garage. It's much more difficult watching, I think, than actually doing. I'm sure Jake Dennis is pretty calm in the car, but this is the sector here, locking up. No, everybody nice and clean through there.
Degrassi, Evans, Van Dorn and Mortara, the 5 drivers to be awarded fan boost, or the 4 because they're still in the race, and they will get a power boost in the second half of the race up to 250 kilowatts. So keep an eye on that, because that could be a big help for Lucas Degrassi. Andretti were worried about that for Jake Dennis yesterday because Stoffel Van Dorn behind him had fan boost. They've got the same scenario today. Look how close Degrassi is as they come down the start-finish straight once more. Da Costa is also getting to the back of Nick De Vries again. Into Victoria and Albert, and De Vries covers the inside. Da Costa's getting racy. The thing is, if De Vries fights Da Costa too hard, he's doing himself out of any chance of winning.
Yeah, but his big job today is to keep Mitch Evans behind, I would say, and back that field up. Absolutely, that's more important to him, I think, unfortunately for him, than his individual result, because he needs Stoffel Van Dorn to finish ahead of Mitch Evans, because this championship might come down to 1 or 2 points.
Use attack this lap, use attack.
Well, that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Clear instructions from the engineer. Love it.
So, Degrassi here, is he going to take the lead of the London E-Prix? Here comes Dennis. He does. Dennis goes for it. Degrassi now moves into the lead in the Rocket Venturi, but Dennis is in attack mode. They've both got 1 attack mode left to use.
Everything we've got, everything we've got.
Everything we've got is the message to Degrassi, who now leads the London E-Prix. Dennis in second, De Vries in third. They now want to try and build a gap to Dennis of about 1.5 seconds, so that when Degrassi activates his attack mode, he can stay ahead.
And that's easier said than done when the car behind you's got 30% more power. Again, another bit of defending from Nick De Vries. And he's going to push things as far as he can to keep these cars behind, to keep, especially, he's more interested in the car, the Jaguar, the third in line of these cars, keeping him behind and allowing his teammate Stoffel Van Dorn to close that gap.
20 minutes plus 1 lap to go. You're on board with Dennis up in the top left, so keep an eye whether Lucas Degrassi activates his attack mode. He's just coming through the chicanes at Custom House right now. Dennis is close enough that if Degrassi does activate it, then Dennis will be back through into the lead. You can see only Da Costa has no attack modes remaining of the top 9. Mortara and Gunter are under investigation for some collision at turn 4. But championship-wise, Evans is ahead of Van Dorn in 5th place, and that would close down Van Dorn's championship lead. Not by a huge amount, it's currently 24 points, but 5th for Evans would close it down to 22 points. Fastest lap of the race from Jake Dennis. He's not letting Degrassi get away.
Something to consider whenever you use attack mode, that extra power with the torque of an electric motor really starts to torture the rear tyres. So the later you take it in the race, the the less you can actually really use that extra power that it gives you.
Mortara's in 10th position. Jean-Eric Verne is out of the race as far as the other championship leaders are concerned, or championship protagonists, I should say. And there is the aforementioned Frenchman. And surely now his hopes of a third title are done.
If he's pushing, we need to go, okay? If he takes a tap, we need to push.
And again, clear radio message for Jake Dennis. If he takes attack mode, then we need to...
Oh, a little dummy by Jake Dennis.
But he doesn't take attack mode this time, De Grassi. They've both got one to go. And this is a very, very interesting game of chess out the front. And we've seen with Eduardo Mortara so many times this season, Venturi very, very smart with their attack mode strategy. Now, whether that's across the team or whether that's you know, Mortara engineer specific is a question.
Well, De Grassi's engineer Cyril won this race last year with Alex Lynn, and we see him in the Rocket Venturi camp there, so he knows how to get the job done here. Big defending from Sebastian Buemi, the black and red Nissan from the Porsche of Pascal Wehrlein.
Into turn one, that's allowing Sam Bird to join that fight, which is ultimately over 7th position. And Dennis is nearly out across.
We will take attack this lap. We've got the gap behind, who was safe, Dennis.
So Lucas De Grassi will take attack mode this time around. It is a strategy across the team that is the way it works at Venturi. So if they've been smart for Mortara, they'll be smart for De Grassi as well, as he comes into attack mode now. And Dennis is only going to have 15 seconds to kind of push. There's a look from Evans on Da Costa, and he's through. So Evans gets ahead of Da Costa now, and he's up into 4th position. This is a fantastic drive from the Jaguar driver. Dennis now in the lead.
Again yesterday, another fantastic drive. He put one on yesterday. He's keeping himself in championship contention right now.
There's the energy remaining. Da Costa slightly less than everybody around him, but Jake Dennis is leading, De Grassi is second. Now, what are we going to see unfold here? Is De Grassi going to try and make a move for the lead in the next few laps, but Dennis will be in attack mode at some point. This is really interesting to see what happens here. Because if Dennis takes attack mode on this lap, he's going to have to overtake, he's going to have one lap to overtake De Grassi and get the lead of the race back, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, you've got to say he's not going to get away from Lucas De Grassi enough before taking attack mode. I think whatever happens, so
to take attack mode, push it at 9.8.
You're going to see, I think, another change for the lead here, and then it's whether Dennis can get back past Lucas De Grassi, who will have the widest Formula E car in London.
And they don't do attack modes. Interesting. No attack mode from Jake Dennis this time. Nick De Vries does, and comes out just in front of Mitch Evans. Through the right-hander they come.
Evans has nearly got the gap to Da Costa behind him to take attack mode as well and not lose position.
Evans has one more attack mode to use. Right, here comes the fight for the lead. Dennis ahead of De Grassi. How hard does the Andretti driver fight? The answer is fairly. Covers the inside. De Grassi's going to get a good run out through the next couple of corners, and the race is on for the lead of the London E-Prix. De Grassi sliding the rear as he gets on the power.
Again, this is going to be single file, coming down through 6, 7, 8, quick succession under the entry ramp, up to turn 9, off of turn 9. That is where Lucas De Grassi can potentially make his overtaking manoeuvre.
Yeah, you just wonder whether Avalanche Andretti have decided to leave it a bit so Dennis would have two, like to create more of an offset, really. If he can keep De Grassi behind, create more of an offset in terms of how long Dennis has attack mode for compared to De Grassi. We'll see whether he goes for it this time. Down into the anchor. De Grassi is there lurking. Dennis does not.
Yeah,
Stays out again.
I'd be staying as long as possible, Jack, I think.
And just as soon as once you've lost the lead, take attack mode.
Well, unless
obviously try not to.
No, but if De Grassi can actually make the pass, that's going to be the tricky part. He hasn't made it so far. Jake Dennis defending very, very well. So let's see. This next section is straight out of turn 22 into turn 1. Look, Jake Dennis, fantastic exit. He gaps Lucas De Grassi a bit. Lucas De Grassi's going to have to lunge if he wants to make a pass here.
Not close enough, De Grassi. Into Victoria and Albert again. Then the left-hander of turn 3.
Just look how one corner leads into the next. You can't overdo any of these corners by trying to gain time on them too much, because it really messes you up for the next one. Through turn 8 now. Again, another key point out of turn 9. Onto the long straight up to turn 10.
So there's Jake Dennis. He's in the lead of the London E-Prix. Lucas de Grassi is right behind him. Third here is Nick de Vries in the Mercedes. Fourth is Mitch Evans, who's chasing him down. And fifth is Antonio Felix da Costa in the black and gold DS Gita, being chased by that man, Stoffel van Dorn, the championship leader, who's in 6th place at the moment. And it would be, the gap would come down to 20 points if it finished like this at the top of the championship. Van Dorn ahead of Evans by 20 points, and it would pretty much be becoming a 2-horse race.
Don't look now, because Nick de Vries in 3rd place is using his attack mode to close the gap to these two leaders in a hurry. It's a big gap to close, 2.5 seconds, but he is doing it.
Now de Grassi is out of attack mode. Here they come, over the start-finish straight, down towards the first corner. De Grassi out of attack mode. Dennis has 1 attack mode remaining. Evans has 1 attack mode remaining. That's the situation within the top 6. So when, and 5-second time penalty for Mortara for causing a collision, and he's sending one here, and he goes straight on, he loops it. And that Mortara around trying to get Sandberg.
And there was a late defensive move by Buemi at the front of that whole pack that caused that, I would say.
France now gets up into 10th position. De Vries and Van Dorn in the Mercedes are in their final attack modes. When is Dennis going to use his? He's trying to gap de Grassi now, isn't he?
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's got to push his maximum through 13, 14 here through that chicane.
Oh, he's got a huge... This could be enough to bring him out, still in the lead of the E-Prix.
Copy, we can spend. Gap to de Grassi, 0.9.
Oh, 1 more lap, so he's going to push for this next lap and try and keep the lead while taking attack mode.
We can spend means we can use the energy. We don't have to quite save as much. We can use some to create the gap and then activate attack mode and try and maintain the lead of the E-Prix. That's Mitch Evans in the Jaguar, who's in 4th place. De Vries is now out of attack mode in 3rd spot. There goes Dennis, followed by de Grassi, out across the line, and Dennis goes 4/10 quicker than de Grassi on that lap.
It shows how good that car is.
Van Dorn on da Costa. Mercedes EQ up into 5th position, so still only 1 place behind Mitch Evans. I asked Mercedes on the grid. Here's a look at Eduardo Mortara's spin again.
Oh, wow.
Steaming in.
Yeah, just let the back end stop.
Yeah, I think the rears were just fully locked.
You see the late defense from Buemi. Mortara thinks I have some. No, yeah, he locked him, sorry. Absolutely right, Jack.
I think suddenly because the Porsche was there. Now I asked Mercedes on the grid, you know, have you done your simulations and do you know how high you think Van Dorn can finish? They said yes. I said, okay, how high? They said, we're not going to tell you.
Did you see the amount of speed that Lucas de Grassi carried into turn 16? He slid the car for the last sort of 5 or 6 car lengths all the way into the apex. He is trying his hardest not to let Jake Dennis ahead of him get away.
11 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Dennis still leading, de Grassi 2nd. De Vries is in 3rd position. Dennis, de Grassi, De Vries, Evans, the top 4. Dennis saying on the radio he thinks de Grassi's faster.
Oh, that's not what you want to hear. De Grassi's saving energy through one part of the lap and then absolutely attacking in that turn 13 to 16 area, which is not allowing Jake Dennis to take attack mode. Look how close Lucas de Grassi is. He was 3/10 quicker on the last lap, 2/10 quicker through the first sector of this lap.
Into the chicane, Custom House in, then Custom House out. Down towards the anchor now. Thud on the ground as they hit the ground. And now into the anchor. Dennis still doesn't take his lap. He's got a long time to do it, to be fair. 9 minutes plus a lap to go, plus there is going to be a time extension because of the safety car earlier on.
Dennis he's lifting and coasting a bit in the 16, which is not helping him to gap Lucas de Grassi at that point in the track. The point in the track he really needs to, if he's going to take attack mode around the outside and lose, as we've talked about 1.5 seconds in that spot of the track.
Buemi's got ahead of Pascal Wehrlein because Wehrlein activated his attack mode. There's the energy remaining. De Vries is in a strong position. Da Costa's dropped back to 6th place, so a difficult day for Diaz de Chita. Here comes the Buemi Verline Bird queue. Buemi just covering off the inside, running in 7th place at the moment. And there's Eduardo Mortara, who's got that 5-second time penalty. As it stands, the gap would be 22 points. Van Dorn leading the championship ahead of Mitch Evans. Mortara would be 39 points adrift of Stoffel Van Dorn, so it would be a simple head-to-head between Van Dorn and Evans. Antonio Giovinazzi has been given a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with Antonio Felix da Costa, which is a bit of a harsh one, I think.
Was that for the turn 2?
Yeah.
Madness. Utter madness.
Push into attack now.
Looks so close.
Push into attack now. Push into attack now.
Interesting. So they say take attack mode, Dennis, and he's saying, but Degrassi and Nick is so close. That's what he said. Nick is so close. He couldn't believe that Nick de Vries and the Mercedes has caught them so quickly. So now Degrassi leads the London E-Prix. 8 minutes plus a lap to go, and Dennis will have to overtake him on track if he wants to win this race.
And the balance of that Avalanche Andretti is going to change now with that extra power. Let's see how aggressive Jake Dennis is going to be. Neither of these guys are ahead. Lucas de Grassi, Jake Dennis, none of them have got anything to lose in the championship fight.
Just hit targets now.
De Vries being told by Albi Lau on the radio, just hit your targets. And we'll see what unfolds in front of us. Here we go with Jake Dennis. He's lost track position to de Grassi over the course of the attack modes.
Look how close he's getting to the walls. This is the thing to consider. Every lap these guys are doing, so easy to just overcook it. There's no runoff areas, just maximum risk every lap.
Through the chicanes. Dennis thumping the curbs and then coming down towards the anchor. It's 3 minutes of attack mode to go. And de Grassi is now ahead. Can Dennis do anything about Lucas de Grassi out ahead? Through the left-hander of turn 17.
And de Vries has got more energy than Jake Dennis ahead of him. And it's only a bit, but that's all that matters. And watch for de Vries put maximum pressure now on Jake Dennis. See Mitch Evans coming into view as well. He's slowly but surely catching the 2 cars ahead of him.
De Grassi uses his fan boost and sets the fastest lap of the race. So brings the gap up to 1.2 seconds at the line, Lucas de Grassi. This is Mitch Evans, who's in 4th position and suddenly can see the top 3 ahead of him. 6 minutes plus a lap to go. And Evans could be in the fight before too long.
You see the rubber on the circuit, that gives the cars grip, basically. The track is constantly changing, constantly getting quicker. And Mitch Evans absolutely taking full advantage of that.
Evans and Van Dorn both have a fan boost to use, as does Eduardo Mortara. De Grassi is getting away here, out in front. James Barkley is the boss of the Jaguar team, watching Evans close in on those podium positions. There is the Jaguar man. That last lap is about it. It's going to be tough for him to really close in on the back of them. On board with de Vries in 3rd place. So Dennis is in his attack mode, but he's not really being able to use it. He lost 4 tenths to de Grassi in that first sector, mainly because de Grassi did use his fan boost as we now come inside into the XL and down the start-finish straight.
And look how smooth the surface is here. High grip, almost like sandpaper, lovely and smooth. The car handles a bit differently, then you go back outside into the pumpy London streets. But yeah, Jake Dennis is getting left behind, even with his extra power of attack mode. Lucas de Grassi just absolutely putting maximum pressure on Jake Dennis right now. He's got to run closer to the walls to keep up with de Grassi ahead of him, and that's easier to make a mistake by doing that. See the wall, turn 8. We saw Oliver Askew hit that earlier in qualifying.
On board with Dennis again as we come. You look at the graphic on the right-hand side, he'll come off the throttle and coast, then regen, and then a little dab on the brakes through the chicanes.
They hit the curb so hard that the camera switches up every lap, lap after lap. The drivers all suffering from really sore wrists after yesterday's race, just with the pounding over the curbs and the angles their hands go when they put full lock on.
Grassi being told not to overconsume, and that's how you overconsume from Jake Dennis with the slide like that.
A couple of tenths quicker though, Jake Dennis, through those first couple of sectors, but that also overheats the rear tyres. You do that too many times, you might gain a bit of time over 1 lap, but then it'll ultimately cost you lap time.
So Lucas de Grassi leading the London E-Prix with 4 minutes plus a lap to go. Second is the red and white 27, Jake Dennis. Third is 17, Nick de Vries. Fourth is number 9, Mitch Evans. Then there's this gap back to number 5, Stoffel van Dorn, who's the championship leader, and he is ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, number 13. Then, behind da Costa, you've got Boemi, Bird, Freitz and Verline completing the top 10. There will be added time at the end of this E-Prix because of the safety car, and there's aggressive action coming into turn 1. Mortara trying to get through. 3 minutes of added time will be put on the clock at the end of this race. So in effect, we've got 6 minutes plus 1 lap to go as they swing through the right-hander and now down the hill.
Let's give a shout out to Sergio Setticamera in the middle of those cars, the red and white Dragon Penske, right now running 11, and he'll be pushing for the first points of the season. He had a phenomenal race going yesterday, ran out of energy on the last lap.
So this is where we're at the moment. 22 points would be Stoffel van Dorn's championship lead. This man, Eduardo Mortara, surely would be out of the running. 39 points behind with 58 points available.
Never say never, but it's going to be tough.
De Grassi leading. Dennis in second. Bird activates his attack mode. Mortara running down in 12th place. And very much out of the points. Big lock up from Evans. That was really weird, wasn't it?
Well, he hit the bump. If you watch, just as he started to brake, he hit the bump, and it caused that lock up. His last lap, he caught de Vries by 4/10. He's still 2 seconds back though. Is it too much to do in these next 6 minutes plus a lap?
De Grassi leading. Dennis in second. De Vries in third position, and well, De Vries is complaining on the radio about the front suspension, and he says it doesn't feel correct, Nick de Vries, as he comes through the chicane.
He's also saying there's oil by his feet, so if a damper's collapsed, that would have to explode to get the oil out of it. But I think you'd see more of a reaction than you actually would have seen so far. The car would probably be down on one side if there was enough damage, but Nick de Vries certainly feeling something in the Mercedes EQ.
2 minutes plus a lap to go. De Grassi leading.
De Grassi only 2 seconds up the road now.
Yeah, he's got this under control, I think, Lucas de Grassi, here at the London E-Prix. Dennis, though, in second place. A first and a second would still be super news for Dennis. He was telling us on the grid he's got the table booked for the party tonight.
I mean, he wants that second win. Let's not mess around. He wants the double win in London, his home race. The crowd yesterday cheering him. He wants that again.
Mitch Evans running in 4th position. If there are troubles for Nick de Vries, Evans will be there to try and take advantage of it. De Vries' last lap was quicker than Dennis, so it doesn't appear to be too much trouble. Again, there is the championship standings. 22 points would be the gap between Van Dorn and Evans. A really good drive here from the Kiwi.
And that mistake from the last lap from Mitch Evans in turn 1, that cost him 0.8 of a second.
We are catching the leaders again, and Van Dorn is dropping away. We just maximize what we've got.
Joseph Brocker on the radio.
Wise words, because as a driver, you've only got the view right in front of you, right behind you. The engineers have got a more global view of what's going on. So we see now de Vries all over the back of Jake Dennis.
Very close in the fight for second place. We're about to get to the end of the lap and almost at the end of the regular time. Verline and Setticamera are both under investigation for blocking at turn 1. Here comes the energy, and de Grassi and Dennis very similar. De Vries is going to be on the attack in these closing stages, you know, but how much risk does he take? Because they're all about the fight for the team's championship, Mercedes, and Venturi are going to score big with de Grassi, but they're going to score all right with de Vries in 3rd and Van Dorn in 5th.
Yeah, and the prize money is paid on the team's championship, and that fact is not lost on the drivers or the team principals. But look at de Vries, that's 10% more energy he's got right now. You look, oh, that's just 1%, but in the global figure, it's 10% more than those around him.
I see what you're saying, yeah. Right, we're into added time now. 3 minutes of it because of that safety car intervention at the start. And as a result, the fight is on for second place for a few more laps.
Okay, Nick, no risk, no risk.
Well, that's the message from Albert Lau. No risk, Evans! Mitch Evans! Where is he? What's happened? Evans has stopped. He's off in some runoff area somewhere, and he's trying to get the car going again. He's gone straight on. Has he gone straight on by himself down at the chicane at Custom House? He's down in 14th place. He's not going to score. Stoffel Vandoorne's going to move him into 4th position. Vandoorne is going to get 12 points. His championship lead is going to increase to 36 with just 58 to go. He's got going again, Evans, but I think he's going to retire the car. A technical problem in the Jaguar, and Evans is out when it looked like he was going to close in.
Here we go, we'll see what happened.
Just dies down the straight. No power, no power.
Devastating for Mitch Evans. He was taken out of last year's championship fight by a mechanical issue too.
The Jaguar driver out of the race. And so it's Stoffel Vandoorne who would suddenly be moving into a 36-point lead at the top of the championship. And it would take a real catastrophe for Vandoorne to not wrap it up in Seoul. De Grassi still leading. We're onto the penultimate lap of the race now. So the focus is on the fight for second place. Dennis versus De Vries for second place here in London.
And you watch Dennis looking in his mirrors. He's going to put up a big defence if Nick De Vries gets anywhere closer to him and gets a run on him. Again, through this turn 6, 7, 8 here, he can try and gap him coming off of turn 9. It's going to be difficult to make a pass into 10 with the same amount of energy without attack mode, but into 16, then all bets are off.
Evans back in the garage and heading out the back. But the battle is on for second position. It looks as though Dennis has gapped him a bit.
Yeah, he's done a good job of gapping him through 10, 11 and 12, 13. Let's see what happens in the braking zone of 16, because that's where it's going to happen. They're coming up to the last lap. They've got one more chance after this. Nick De Vries not even close, but he has been told by his team, absolutely no risk.
Lucas de Grassi, as the clock ticks down to 0, will be starting the final lap. That's Vandoorne running in 4th, Da Costa running in 5th, and Vandoorne is going to lead the championship by 36 points if it finishes like this. Here comes Lucas de Grassi out of the final corner and across the line. One more to go in London. Would they swap De Vries and Vandoorne for 3rd and 4th? I think it's a bit too much.
Decision. It's a big decision.
Final lap. Bring it home. Da Costa 3.2.
3-point difference.
I think it would. I think with the margin that Vandoorne would have at the top of the championship, 36 points. Would you then really do that to make it 39? It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a huge, big enough swing, I don't think. And De Vries is on the back of Dennis.
I think De Vries, my radio's going to stop working right about now. I'm sorry, couldn't hear what you said.
It looks as though Dennis has got it, though.
Yeah, I think De Vries is just discretion the better part of valor, and he's just he's seen how difficult it's going to be. But this man, Lucas de Grassi, what a clinic he's put on.
Lucas de Grassi through the final few corners. His last win came last season in Berlin. His teammate Eduardo Mortara has been the form man in the squad so far this season, but de Grassi is finally going to convert some great pace this year into a victory. De Grassi wins in London. Superb win for Venturi. It's a second place for Jake Dennis. It's 3rd for Nick De Vries. De Grassi fighting back after what he felt was an unfair penalty yesterday. Susie Wolff over the moon. Freitz coasts across the line in 7th place. Bird in 8th. 9th for Sete Camera. Is there going to be some points for Dragon? Or has he broken down on the last lap? He takes the checkered flag. Points for Dragon Penske. Points for Sete Camera.
Good to see.
10th for Verline.
Sims 11. That is a big fight back from Sims.
And Lotterer were the back row of the grid. They finish 11th and 12th. But Rocket Venturi take the win. Big points for them in the team's championship. But Lucas de Grassi, the race winner.
Shall we have a chat? Lucas, congratulations, your first win for Rocket Venturi. Well done. Fantastic job, well done.
Lucas Di Grassi, when he's up against it, when he's got a fight on his hands, there's few better.
I think Sam Bird's the best overtaker, Riffy, and I think Lucas Di Grassi is strategically the best.
Di Grassi winning 3.2 seconds ahead of Jake Dennis. Nick de Vries third, Van Dorn fourth, Da Costa fifth. Evans in the garage.
You see both sides of racing right there, both sides of sport. Devastation for Mitch Evans and elation for Lucas Di Grassi.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is a big loss. 12 points is not, 22 points to 36 points. It is a big difference. Is that it would still need a big swing, whatever happens, for Evans to get back in the fight. But here comes Di Grassi down the back of the paddock and out in front of all of the team and the fans that will be there. It's going to be a fun night, I think, for Lucas Di Grassi. And Jake Dennis delighted too. A first and a second for the Avalanche Andretti driver. Huge haul of points. But Lucas Di Grassi is the winner in London. Great drive from the Brazilian. And that is his 13th win in Formula E. And that ties him level with Sebastian Buemi for race victories, I believe. And that's the delight. A tough race with Jenis, he said. I don't know if that's a bit of a joke or whether he mispronounced his name. Byrne has 10 wins. Bird has 11. Di Grassi now has 13. Tied with Sebastian Buemi. He returns now to the pit lane. He'll head up onto the podium in a few moments' time. A winning machine, Lucas Di Grassi, and he's delighted with that, isn't he? It's been a tough year. Well, no. It's not been a tough year for Di Grassi. I don't think that's appropriate to say. 5th and 3rd in the opening race, but just then never hit the front in qualifying, really, in the mid part of the season. Once he's starting towards the front, he is almost unstoppable. Hugs all around. And he will be heading up onto the podium in a moment. Great job from Senna Cameron to get points. Not enough to take Dragon ahead of Neo in the Constructors' Championship just yet. As he makes his way up the hill. Up the stairs, I should say. But let's hear then from the race winner, shall we? Lucas Di Grassi, speaking to Nicky Shields.
Lucas Di Grassi, what can I say? A huge, huge congratulations. Taking the win here today, your first win of the season. What does it mean to you?
It means everything. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Well, congratulations to all my competitors, all the great drivers out there. It was a massive fight with Jake. was very strategic, using the attack mode in the right moment, saving energy in the right moment. The team gave me the perfect feedback. The car was amazing today. And after what happened yesterday, I think we deserve it very much.
And just explain to us the strategy with attack mode as well. It seemed to really play to your advantage.
Yeah, of course. It depends really how you use the energy as well. It's not only attack mode. So today we use attack mode to create the right energy buffer, and then when the time was right, we used the energy and opened the gap and just kept it from there.
And Jake Dennis just couldn't catch you on those final laps.
Jake was struggling a little bit with the rear of his car, I think, and I saw that if I could push for 2 or 3 laps was enough, because here it's very hard to overtake. So, yeah, well, that's thanks to the guys that made a perfect car today.
Brilliant. Lucas Di Grassi, huge congratulations for you and the Rocket Venturi team.
Lucas Di Grassi taking the victory. Pretty even start with Dennis. And then the energy and strategy battle was fascinating to see. In the end, when Dennis activated his attack mode, Di Grassi hit the front. And Di Grassi didn't have enough, or Dennis didn't have enough to stop Di Grassi from winning the London E-Prix. That's what it means in Venturi.